The project started at the end of March. Just after the country had gone into lockdown, I received a message from a colleague whose partner works in the Norfolk and Norwich hospital, asking whether we had any face shields. I rather naively replied, yes, I think we've got 2 in the workshop that we can donate, massively underestimating the level of demand. Moments later, I received a second email from a local GP and former parent of pupils at Norwich School asking again, do we have any face shields? And if not, do we have the capacity to start making some? So we did just that. After some conversations with colleagues, that day came into the workshop and started prototyping various designs, both from my own creation and others that were publicly available online to download. Our face shields are made from 2 materials predominantly. The headband is made from sheets of polypropylene and the visor is made from a clear PVC. We went down this route because whilst face shields are typically items that are meant to be used just once and be disposable of, we're aware of 2 things. Firstly, not everyone will do that and people will want to be able to reuse them. Whilst we don't recommend them, by having a design which is fully plastic, it means they can be disinfected quite easily, they will dry quite easily. Where a lot of other designs I've seen that include kind of fabrics and elastic and foam, obviously that limits your ability to disinfect them. The second thing really was just our ability to produce them en masse. I'm aware of a lot of other organisations that have been 3D printing them and the designs for those look absolutely fantastic. With our capacity here, 3D printing them would probably take around 3 hours per face shield, and we've needed to kind of produce a far greater quantity than that. So by having a design which is made of polypropylene and PVC, while still being adjustable, so it can fit all the different head sizes, they are much easier to produce at a greater scale. Hopefully our pupils see this as something that is part of the school and it's part of something educational too. I think it's really important for the students to see that actually the facilities that they work in on a day-to-day basis, the sorts of things that they make and produce are the same sorts of processes that exist in manufacture, that exist in industry. So hopefully by kind of seeing what the school's done with the face shield project, hopefully they will gain a bit of experience in how you might take something from an idea to a product to getting it out there into the public or to doing something of use. So I hope the students have found this quite interesting and insightful. Well, we have now produced a little over 8,000 face shields. The hope is that demand will continue to diminish as the days and weeks go by, with the hope that the staff and the virus is receding within the UK. But we're still here prepared to continue on production for as long as we've got materials. And I would anticipate when we kind of conclude production in the next few days, we'll have produced around 9,000 face shields, which is far beyond what we could have ever expected to do. The face shields that we're producing are made of 2 materials predominantly. Polypropylene for the headband and clear PVC for the visor that goes across the face. We chose these 2 materials because whilst the face shield in a healthcare setting is really intended to be a disposable or recyclable item and not to be reused, we are aware because of the demand people will be making those choices to reuse them rather than be without them. So by producing them out of these materials, it does allow them to be disinfected, whereas a lot of other visors out there that have got foam, fabric and elastic within them, it does stop them so easily being disinfected and increases potentially the risk of contaminants moving from one surface to another. We also chose to produce them in the way that we have by laser cutting them because it is by far the quickest way that we could produce face shields at volume. They're incredibly lightweight, so they haven't required the amount of structure that you see in a lot of the 3D printed versions that other organisations are doing. The difficulty with the 3D printed version is just that a 3D printer takes quite a long period of time to produce them. A lot of them taking between 2 and 3 hours to print each. With our production method, we're able to produce in-house around about 56 fully completed face shields an hour. So that's from parts to disinfecting to assembly and boxing. And with companies like BD&H and Lotus cutting for us, we're able to increase that production rate much further. So that's what's been able to allow us to produce such a large volume. The process is a relatively simple one, but I suppose there are quite a lot of stages to it. So first of all, we're starting predominantly with sheet material. Lotus have been cutting a lot of the clear visor material for us, as we're unable to laser cut that because of the fumes that it gives out. But in-house and at BD&H, we're cutting the headbands here. So starting with sheet material, programming the laser cutters and laser cutting. Once that stage is completed, we're then sanitizing them and washing them and then drying them before assembling them. We're using personal protective equipment ourselves, masks and gloves, just to reduce any risk of putting any contaminants onto them. Once the visor's completed, we then add the visor to the headband and then box them up and seal those boxes closed. And we're typically keeping a lot of the boxes here for a few days before they're going into the healthcare setting, wherever possible, to ensure that whilst we've taken every precaution possible by leaving them for a short period of time, it does allow us to ensure that what we're sending out is the safest product as possible. The most challenging part of the process, I think, has been balancing the materials and the volunteers that have put themselves forward against our cutting capacity. When you're producing anything that requires multiple materials, you don't want more of one material than another, or to produce more headbands than we've got visors cut, or the vice versa. And it's also about balancing our production rate, so ensuring that we're cutting at the same capacity that we have volunteers to assemble. So I think getting that balance, I found the hardest thing and the most insightful thing in the process. And I think I've probably learned quite a lot of things and organisational things from that process and that experience. It's been amazing to see the community come together in such a positive way. Both people within the school and external companies have all been coming forward with offers of support. And certainly the production to the level that we've achieved wouldn't have been possible without so many kind volunteers, both individually and organisations. We've been really fortunate to work with some big local companies who have given a great deal of their time and expertise and equipment and materials to us to make everything possible. So firstly, Lotus cutting our visor material, BD&H who have cut a great amount of the visor headbands for us, Norwich City Football Club who have been financially supporting us along with doing deliveries, Meridian Office Supplies who donated materials, Thompson Packaging Limited who've donated over 300 boxes, so we're able to send out all of our face shields protected, along with companies such as Amari Plastics and Healy Printers who have donated or sold us material at cost price. Everyone has been so incredibly generous. I think, on the front line, the people who've been coming in here on a day-to-day basis, helping out, help construct, doing what is quite laborious work day in, day out, and for what have been many long days as well, has been incredible, and I'm incredibly grateful to have so many kind volunteers and colleagues who have given up so much time to do that. But I think there's so many cogs that move all at the same time. I've certainly found, things like the catering team delivering us food each day helps us keep going. The caretakers coming in to unlock, keep the site safe, supply us with hand sanitizer. There's so many small pockets and so many different variables which make this process work. So I'm incredibly grateful to everyone who's been involved and for everybody who's supported us. It's been a really lovely thing to be a part of, and I think despite these being the most difficult times, it's shown some of the best in humanity.